Today, we're going to cover 5 Shopify concepts so that you can make your own theme changes. If you're new to Shopify, this is an introduction to some core concepts that will help you understand the theme editor. And if you're a seasoned Shopify user, this will be just a nice refresher. This video is a bit different than some of our other videos. Normally, we provide a how to tutorial to add a specific feature, and we often get into the theme code. But there's no code today. We're just going to talk about foundational concepts. We're going to show some simple examples. And by the end of this video, you'll have the tools to make your own customizations. Before we start, I have a small favor to ask. We put a lot of time and effort into these videos, and we make it completely free for you. So if you do like these videos, just hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And it really goes a long way to help us grow this channel so we can keep making free content for you. All right, let's get started. For this video, I'm going to assume that you already know the basics on how to add items into your Shopify admin. So this is like adding your products, your collections, your pages, and so on. So let's head over to our online store themes area. But before making any changes, always duplicate your theme like this so that if you ever make any mistakes, it's easier to revert back. Here we're using a fresh install of Dawn, but these concepts apply to any theme you use. Okay, let's jump into the theme editor by hitting customize. So the first concept we're going to cover is a section. A section is like a Lego piece that can be added to any page and any part of the page. So for example, here we have a section that we can add to the header, we can add a section to the actual template, and we can add a section to the footer. Okay, so let's take a look at a few examples. In the header, we've got the option to add an announcement bar and a custom liquid block. So here we can add an announcement bar if we want. We already have one, but we have the option to add a second one, right? So you can drag that around, right? So these sections are really useful because you can reorder them whichever way you want, just like Lego pieces, right? It's drag and drop, plug and play. In the template, we can also add sections. You'll see here there is a lot more options available. We're not going to go through every single one of these, but I do suggest you to go through them all, add them, look at the settings, because most likely any customization you want to add to your store, there probably is something that already exists or is pretty close to what you want so that you don't have to do anything with custom code or with any apps. So let's say, for example, we want to add an image with text and we want to add, let's say, an email sign up form and a video. Okay, so I just chose these at random. You can look through these all you want, but we can see here we've got these new sections that are now on the page. And again, we can just drag and drop these wherever we want. So we can just grab these little dots there, move it up. We can move things down. And we have all sorts of settings available in them as well. So let's say with the image with text, we can go in here and add an image. So let's choose some random image like this shirt. All right, so then we can add that shirt in. We can change the text and type whatever we want. So this is a title. And here's some description. And you can press me. You can change the button text. So there's a lot of options here to change how it looks and to make it your own. Same thing goes with this video block. We can click in here and see all the settings that we can add. You can add your own video in there. For example, you can with a YouTube video. So let's put in one of our YouTube videos. So we can add that in and we can click save. And if we view our store, we can play our video. We can also add our own thumbnail or cover image. So I don't have one in here, so let's just choose a random image. All right, so this could be the thumbnail. And then when you click it, it'll play the video. Yeah, and you can explore some of these other settings here. And here we can add an email intake form, right? You can change the text. And again, just make it your own. So We're not going to go through every single one of these options, but you can get a quick little preview of what it can look like when you highlight it. And when you add it in and just kind of play with the settings, it should give you a much better idea of what that specific section can do. Now, we see here there's a list of sections, but in the videos on our channel, we actually go over how to create our own custom sections, right? So with code, we can extend the amount of sections that we have in here to create additional features that aren't available by default. And so those would be some even more advanced customizations. But again, like I mentioned, you already have a ton of options already just available out of the box. If we go to a different page, so for example, let's look at the product template, we can add sections to the product template as well. So, right, we could add, say, this multi-column here, um, and you can add a collage, right? So you can start to build out your product pages, your home page, and your collection page to make it your own. Let's change this to a different collection, right? So you can add additional sections in here. So the sections is one of the most important concepts when editing your theme in the theme editor. Okay, so let's move on to the second concept, which is section blocks. Blocks are very similar to sections. It's actually the term for your subsections, or in other words, it's a sections section. So let's go back to our product template, and we can see here that we've got our product information section, and then underneath it, there are all these different parameters. So we've got a title, we've got the price, we've got the variant pickers. Let's change the product so you can actually see variants. Okay, so we've got the variant pickers here, quantity selector, etc. Right? We've got all these different options, and each one of these items are blocks. So you can drag them up and down as you need, right? So you probably wouldn't actually organize it like this, but if you wanted to, you can, right? It's drag and drop with tons of flexibility. In addition to moving around, you can actually add more blocks, right? So you can, here are some of the options here. We can, let's say, add an inventory status. We did a video on how to use this and some additional customizations that aren't available out of the box. You can add product ratings. So if you have a ratings app, this is what's going to help show those stars, and collapsible row, right? So if you want to show additional information, you can use a collapsible row. So again, just like the sections, I would suggest you add these different blocks and play around with them. So you can go to the collapsible row, and we can see here, you can change the icon that shows up. You can add a page for the information to show. So we can add, say, the size chart here. And now when I open up this collapsible row, you're showing some additional information. Similar to your sections, you can add additional features or additional blocks that aren't available by default by using custom code. But what's available by default can already take you really far. Let's go back to the home page, and we can look at some other blocks here. So we've got this email sign up, right? So we've got these 3 different blocks here. If we add a block, there's none available, but you can rearrange the blocks here. Same thing with image with text. You can add a block. So in this case, a caption. And again, you can rearrange these however you like. One additional note, when adding a section or block, you can access the app blocks or sections that might be available with any of the apps you've installed. Here you don't see any, but if we go back to our product template, you can see here there's one app widget available for the subscription app that we've installed. So the more apps you install, you may start to get some of these additional features that you can add into your theme and move around just like any block or section. So let's just add this subscription widget in here. We're going to see it show up there. And again, you could just drag it around to place it wherever you want. And then it'll just show up there on the main page. And then we can just save. Okay, next we're going to talk about templates. So right here is the product template. We've got collection templates. We've got the homepage template. So everything we see in this drop-down menu is a template. Templates are the structure that we use in order to show your information. So if we're showing a product, this is the template, so the structure that the products are going to be shown. If we're going to a collection, then any collection is going to have this structure, and this structure is what dictates how our collections are shown. Now, what we can actually do is we can create different structures, different templates to represent that same information. So let's say for a product, we have our default product, right? So that most products are going to be shown in this default way. But we also have some special products or a different flow that you want to have on a subset of products. So what we can do is we can create a new template and base it on our default product. So we can say landing page product. So for example, you may want to create a landing page for your product where it describes all the features, all the benefits, all the reviews, right? So it'd just be one of these longer pages instead of a simple product page like we have here. So what we can do is we can add additional sections. So let's say we want to add an image with text, and then we want to add a collage, right? And we can just start to build all of this additional information. This can be, product benefit. Um, and we can add, let's say, a video where and this video is going to show some marketing material on the product, right? So we can work all the way down and build this really advanced landing page for some of our products. And so if we just save this, we now have this new landing page product template. And if we go back to our Shopify admin, so I'm just going to duplicate the tab so we can easily shift back between the theme editor and our admin. And we go to our products. And let's say on our socks. Okay, so what we can do is right here, theme template, we can change it to the landing page product and save. And so if we come back to our, say, our t-shirts, right, we're going to have our default template here, right? It's a pretty simple page. We actually already added these multi-columns and multimedia collage. So why don't we just remove those? So we can come here, right? So multi-column, we can just remove that. Collage, we can move that and just save again. Let's refresh. Okay, so we've got this simpler product page, but now we want to go to the socks. And since we changed the template, you've got all of this additional information that can show up here, right? And so this is a different way where you can separate some of your products or separate your collections, right? Because you can create more collection templates. Or what are any other template here actually? So pages, blogs, blog posts, etc. So you can create these different templates and use them however you like. So for example, like we did here, we may want to build a landing page for our socks. But with all other products, we want them to have just a standard product page. Okay, so the next concept we're going to cover are Metafields. So if we come back to our Shopify admin, and we can look at a product page like this, you can see how there's all this different information. We've got a title, we've got a description, we've got product categories and images, variant names. So all of these are different settings that accompany every single product. But what if for your store you want some additional information to be added to every single product? Well, Metafields is what we use for that. If I scroll to the bottom, you can see that we already have some Metafields created. So these are ones that I've created for previous videos, but let's just go through the process of creating a new one. So for example, if we come to our settings, custom data, so here we can choose which piece of data we want to add the meta field for. So we've got products, variants, collections, and we can work our way down. So here we're looking at products. So let's do that. And let's add a definition. Let's say, for example, we want to create a field for material. So let's call this material. It'll create a namespace and key, custom material. And we're going to add a description. So describes the product material. Okay. And then we can select a type. So we've got all these different types that this meta field can be. So earlier we saw that there's some images, there's some text, um, there's some numbers, right? So the numbers would be, say, the price. The text could be the description or the title. The images are the actual images of the product, and you can set your meta field to be like any one of those settings. So that's why you've got all these different options here. We're not going to go through every single one of them, but there's a lot here, and almost anything you can think of, you can create a meta field for. So in this example, we're going to keep it simple, and we're going to create a single line text. And we're just going to leave it like this. So let's actually just save. I'm just going to duplicate the tab again so we can keep our Metafield admin open. But we're going to come back to our product page. I'll go to t-shirt. We'll use the original t-shirt. All right, so if we scroll down to the bottom, we now have our material Metafield showing. And we can type whatever we want. So we can say cotton. It's just a text field. We can add whatever we want. So let's just save that. But we can also make this a little bit different. So right now we've already defined our meta field to a single line of text, but we can actually limit to preset choices. So if we check that box, we can add the values that it can be. So if we put cotton, we can do that. Polyester, silk, and so on. So let's just save that. And if we come back to our product, we can clear this. Let's just save and refresh. And now if we scroll to the bottom, we'll see here we have these three options to select from. And we can only pick these three options. So for your application, you can have free-form text, or you can have it as a selection of a finite number of options. So we can select cotton again, and we can save. So this is one of the most flexible and useful ways to customize your store. And you can think of them as kind of like tags, right? So we've got these tags here. And you could even say material. We could say cotton as the material, right? So now we've got this tag cotton, but it's really just a tag. It's an identifier. Whereas with our meta field, you can actually put in the information cotton here, and this information is then accessible in the theme editor, right? So our tags would not be, but the meta fields are. So let's come back to our theme editor, and we can, let's say, use this collapsible row. So right now the collapsible row is set to, it's not set to anything. And we can connect to dynamic source. So right here in the row content, anytime you see this little icon here with these 3 disks, this is when we can connect to things like our meta fields. So if we click here, we can see that the meta fields are available. You don't see it right now, but if we change it to the current template, we can see all the different meta fields that are available on the product template. And right here, material. This is the meta field that we were just setting. So we put that in there. We're going to be able to see the material that's set. Now, right now we're looking at a hoodie, right? So we did not add the meta field to the hoodie. So here it's just going to show blank. But if we change our product to the t-shirt, where we did just add that information, we're going to be able to see here when we open this up that cotton shows up, right? Because that's the value that we had just set in our product. And so now we're starting to get into some pretty advanced stuff, right? Because you can create new pieces of data to add to your products, your collections, your customers, really anything, right? So if we come back to our Metafields area, we can add this additional data to any one of these objects, right? Which is basically everything. And then we can specify what that data is in the product and the collection, etc. And then we can actually access it in our themes and our blocks in the theme editor, right? So this alone is super powerful. You don't need to know how to code anything, and already you've got um, dynamic ways of adding information into your theme. So right now you can see here, right, the title, the variant names, the price, the description. These things are all dynamic, right? We've got our product page on the admin side, and it's just pulling this title, it's pulling the description for each product dynamically. And now you can add additional data that is also specific to that product. And so that's why Metafields are so powerful because you can use them in so many different ways. Okay, so the fifth and last concept is Metaobjects. Metaobjects are similar to Metafields, but they are more advanced. So where a metafield is a single setting or piece of data or field, right? So if we come to our product page again, it's just one piece of data, right? It's a line of text, or it's a single image, or it's a list of images, right? It's still one piece of data. So meta objects are multiple pieces of data that stay together. So here we have the metafield material with the options of cotton, polyester, and silk. But if we did this with a meta object, we could create this cotton object where we'd have not just the name, but we could add an image, we can add a description, and these three pieces of information together become cotton, right? And then so anytime we use cotton, we get that name, we get that description, and we get that image. If this doesn't make sense, we'll go through an example so you know what I mean. Let's come back to our metafield and meta objects area, and we're just going to create a new meta object. So in this case, we'll call this material again, and this is where we build our meta object. So these are the fields that is going to be included in our meta object. So the first one is a single line text. We're just going to call this the name, right? So this is going to be the display name. So this, in this case, it could be the cotton, polyester, the silk, right? That text there. So let's just keep this simple and just add. Next, we're going to do, let's say, multi-line text, right? So we're going to call this the description. And then we're going to add a file, right? So we can add an image. And then let's add an integer, right? So maybe we want to do this like some code. So let's say you want to have some sort of like product ID or material ID, then you could add that number in there. So that can be part of the meta object as well. Okay, so let's save. And now if we come back out to our metafield definitions, we can go back to our product and we can create a new metafield. In this case, we can actually set the type to a meta object right here. And let's just call this materials meta object. Okay, so this is going to be similar to the one we made previously, but instead of it being a single line of text, it's going to be our meta objects. And we can just go ahead and save. Oh, sorry, we haven't selected the meta object yet. So we'll have to select material and then save. Okay, so let's refresh our product page. Let's reload. And we can see here our new materials meta object shows up. We click here, but there's actually nothing to select. And that's because for meta objects, we need entries first. What's an entry? Well, if we click select entry, we can add one. But it'll take you to a menu. to add a material, to add an entry here. But what you can also do is you can go to the content area. So let's just open a new tab. So under meta objects, you can go to your material definition and you can add an entry. And so in this case, we can call this cotton. We can say super soft fabric. That's very comfortable. We can select an image. So I believe I had a cotton image in here. Let's use this one here. Okay, and then we can put a code 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so let's save that, and then now we have this cotton entry in our material meta object. So this is a cotton object that contains these pieces of information. And so anytime we select cotton, what's going to come with it are these pieces of information. So let's refresh. And if we scroll back down to the bottom, we can select now cotton. Okay, so we can save that. And what this allows us to do is if we come back to our theme editor and just refresh, we can go back to our collapsible row and we can again choose a dynamic source. And again, we're going to go to our product template. We can see here our materials meta object. And now we actually have additional information that we can use. So it could be the description, the name, the code. So we could put the description in here, for example. So when we open this up, we're going to see our description there. If we want to add a block with text, right, we can also select our meta object or any of our meta fields. If we can maybe add a section here. Let's say image with text. We can connect all of this to our meta object. So we might want to say select our image from our meta object, right? So we've got our image here. We can put our text here as the meta object title, right? The name. So let's just delete this original text and we can change our content to the description. So let's empty this first and then add our description, right? So now what we've done is we've created an entire section on our product page that is dynamic, right? It's dynamic in the sense that whatever meta object you select to use in your meta field, you can code it so that you can have this materials section right on the product page that will be matching to your product. So if your product is, for example, not cotton, but it's polyester, right? We can create a new polyester meta object entry. We can say a sweat wicking material that keeps you cool. Okay, and then we can use our polyester image. And then this could be 98765. Okay, so we'll save that. And let's come back to our products. Let's select a different product. So instead of the original t-shirt, we'll change this chip t-shirt. And if we scroll to the bottom, we can select our polyester. Let's come to our theme editor. And we haven't saved yet, so let's just save this first. So now that it's saved in the product template, we can come back to our store. We'll just refresh. And we can see here we've got this new section with the cotton there. But if we go back to our chip shirt, we can see here it's got the polyester instead, right? So this is where Metafields and meta objects are super powerful, right? Because we also have here our meta field, right? That's, I guess in this case, it's actually our meta object, but you could put a meta field in here. But in this section, we've got a meta object where we've got multiple pieces of information connected to the same object. Now, meta objects are not just used on the product page. You can actually create brand new templates that are based on the meta object. So right here, we've got these different materials that are added as a section in our product page. But we could say, for example, create a meta object template, right? And we can make that meta object template based on the material meta object that we created. And we're just gonna create template here. Okay, so now we need to add some sections. So let's just do an image with text again, right? So now we can do something similar. So we're going to connect our image to a dynamic source, and we've got the material meta object, right, that this template is based off of, and we're going to select the image. Okay, and then image with text, let's connect that to our name. Okay, let's get rid of this existing text. With our description, we can do the same thing, connect it to our description. And then maybe we add another block for caption, and we're going to connect this to our code. Okay, so let's save that. And now we've got a page for our content material, right? So let's say you've got all these different materials. You want to have a dedicated page to describe them. You could do this. You've now created the page for cotton, and you've also created the page for polyester, right? It's just automatically created based on the information in the meta object. So this is why it's super powerful. You just code the information in the meta object itself, very much like how you would create uh, a product or a collection, right? So you add the information in this admin area. Um, and then in the theme, it just grabs all that information based on how you've structured the theme sections and blocks. And it will just automatically create all those pages for you, just like how it creates all the product pages once you've created those products on the admin side. Okay, so there we have it. That's 5 core Shopify concepts that will help you make your own customizations. But for anything a bit more complicated, or if you have a specific feature you want to add, check out our other videos since we've got lots of existing customizations already on our channel. All right, so if you made it this far, it would mean a lot to me if you hit that subscribe button. But that's all for today. Thanks, and see you in the next one.